3 coplanar points, and bam, there's the radius of the Earth.
On the level.
The way I phrase it is a monument to the curvature of the Earth. It really is.
Level.
It really is.
Level.
And bam, there's the radius of the Earth.
Yeah, I'm definitely a believer in the paranormal for sure. You know, I mean, that's what shaped a lot of my early childhood and growing up, and things that happened after that too. So, yeah, yeah, definitely.
You've went back to the ball, and I'm just wondering. I don't suppose it was overnight or whatever, because it was obviously, to me, it was obvious that, you know, it didn't happen overnight. Nobody sort of asked that question when you went in to ask about, you know, the refraction or whatever, and then the next day. So it's, you know, I worked that out that it never happened overnight. What was the kind of catalyst to start you thinking, wait a minute here, something?
Well, and then more recently, obviously, you know, something popped up recently. In fact, this image just popped up one day on my Facebook. I wasn't on YouTube or anything, just on Facebook. Saw this beautiful image of Blackpool. And when you see something so stunning like that, the first thing you want to do, well, first thing I want to do, most people just want to look at it and go, oh, what a beautiful picture. I just looked at it and thought, what a beautiful picture. Let's do some measurements on it. Because that's just how my brain works, and that's just how I was programmed to be over the past 5 years. And I suppose habits are hard to break. So when you see that image there and you just know all the different landmarks that are in the foreground, you know, it was pretty easy for me to just throw some calculations up, do some measurements, and within 10 minutes or so, I expected to find, you know, a flat plane. I expected to be able to go to Brandon and say, hey, throw this out there. You know, and I just wasn't prepared for the result that I got at all. I wasn't prepared for that. And yeah, it definitely hit me quite hard, actually, because it was looking over the area where I film. And from where I film, I wasn't detecting any drop, nothing like that, no curvature. But yet, from this other perspective, from a different position, it was bloody obvious that there was this drop. I've spent a long time looking at that photograph, and I've tried applying a lot of different. I wrote the book essentially on all the reasons why you can have all these effects.
But yeah, but you know, Ranty, in the end up, it's still just a picture, though, mate.
It is just a picture, you're right, but it's a picture that had all the components in it that I needed to do an analysis of it, and it wasn't even a small amount of drop either. It was so definitive what was being shown in that image that I had, you know, just to process that and keep going back to it and keep looking at it and trying to reconcile that with having 5 years of, you know, proofs of flat plane, and then to see this, it totally threw me, you know, totally threw me. And I'll be honest, you know, I mean, it was so obvious that it was showing drop. I gave the image to Conspiracy Cats, I gave the image to Ruhif, and I asked them to go and validate this, you know, tell me what's going on in this. And Conspiracy Cats, it's easier for him to get to that location than for me. It takes about well over an hour to get there for me. And if I'm working anywhere up in Cleves or something like that, it would take about an hour and 25 minutes. And it's a long journey around, even if you haven't got a great visibility. So somebody that's more local to that, who can just nip in the car and, you know, check it out, you know, and he went to go and check it out, and he didn't get any visibility. But Bev went, and he got a very similar image. Okay, it was a bit darker. It wasn't as clear with the, you know, because he didn't have as good a camera, obviously, and there was no snow on the hills. But with a little bit of tweaking, when he was able to highlight and contrast some of the ridges on there, I could make out very clearly that it was showing the same terrain. It was showing the same dips, the same valleys, the same mountains in relation to the Blackpool Tower as well. But I wasn't really focused too much on the trigonometry of it all. I was more interested in just the mountain itself. Imagine the mountain was a face, and, you know, I was looking at that face and I'm thinking, right, okay, so I can see the eyebrows. Yes, I can see the eyeball. Right, perfect. Can I see the nose? Well, the nose is a bit, yeah, you can't really see that. Well, what about the top lip? What about the bottom lip? What about the chin? Where's all that? You know,
yeah. No,
like,
I get it. I totally follow your logic. And now imagine right there. Now imagine that, right? See, imagine that you could like magically drop. Imagine but imagine you could ramp the lower end down. Could you not imagine seeing that whole?
I would imagine that because essentially it's getting rid of my identity. My identity for the past 5 years has been Ranty Flat Earth, let's say, and now it's no longer Ranty Flat Earth. It's something
It's
different.
Ranty Baller. I hope to fuck you don't turn out like they fucking two pricks, Sean G and Jose JG Gonzalez when you leave the ball. Right, it'll bring out your true character. As I say, it brought out Jose's and it brought out Sean G's, and this will bring out your true character, how you handle this. But it'll also bring out for me the true character, how people, see how true to their word or their belief system, or is how they treat you. Like, that's more of the thing I'm waiting for, is to watch who's doing all this shouting and bawling and all this kind of fucking. Because to me, it's like all that stuff. It just reveals to me these people that they're not enlightened at all about seeking the truth.
It's about being honest about things that you've actually found out. I mean, there's been things in the past that I found out that I've covered up for other people.
So have you had any bad reaction from any flat earthers in Ranty or anything like that? You been attacked yet, or
only from Shills versus Shills, who I will be reporting to the police after this. Exactly, and if you're a truther, this information should, it should be useful information for you. It shouldn't be information that you want to try and sort of like go after the person that talks about the information. You should be accepting of the information and then, make your decisions based upon the information, not go after the person. So, unfortunately, there are some unstable people in this community, as some of them are in the chat right now, and they have a real problem in dealing with truth. And, I've never been having a problem with truth. This is the truth. And you can either like it or you can lump it. I don't give a shit. But if you're going to come threatening me for talking about the truth, then I have a problem with that. So with that, Ali, I will leave and I'll let you round up your stream, Ali. All right, mate. It seems like there's been a lot of kerfuffle over this image. I don't know why. Don't know why people can't just look at it and say, here's an image. Like this image right now that's on screen, and it's just an image, right? It really is as simple as that. Now, you guys know me. I have been looking at photographs for the past 5 years. That's all I did. In Flat Earth debates, whenever an image popped up, Nathan Oakley, Sleeping Warrior, it didn't really matter who it was. If they had an image, they didn't do it themselves. They didn't analyse it themselves. They gave it to me to look at. You know why? Because I'm good at analysing images. Simple as that. I'm good at working things out and I'm good at research. And they have a problem with images. Clearly, after listening to today's show, the image itself is very clear and the evidence in it is very clear. And I'm not going to talk about it being a globe earth proof at all. In fact, I'm not going to discuss globe at all in this. I'm not going to even mention it being globe. I'm not going to mention that. And I'm not going to mention trigonometry, right? For some simple reasons, right? Not going to mention trigonometry, not going to mention globe. And I'll show you why. Right. So, Bev Try Thinking, or Bev, whatever his name is, no idea. Bev. Anyway, he's in the chat. Bev, guys, you're giving me an absolute panic attack here. Because it's only an image, for crying out loud. It really is only an image, right? Now, Bev, here we have Bev, eye level. B, I am making an assumption that it was probably at low tide, and giving all the benefits to the flat plane. And 12 meters, I think, is a very reasonable guess from that spot. I've actually been there myself. Other people have been there too. You know, there's no you know, you couldn't say it was 30 meters. You know, you couldn't say it was 20. 12 is a very educated guess. And Bev, that's eye level, sea level. Bev, eye level. Bev, eye level. The scarring on the hill. Scarring on the hill. Let's zoom in. Can you see that scarring on the hill? Can you see the two? See how they match up perfectly? Can you see the scarring? There. Can you see the scarring? So where I'm pointing to this scarring here, this line, this scarring on that hill here, that is an elevation of 476 meters, right? That scarring here, this line, is at 476 meters. That's elevation on that mountain. That mountain. Somebody stood there is 476 meters above sea level. Somebody stood on the top of that there is 796 meters above sea level. Now, where is Bev? Whereabouts is Bev? Whereabouts is Bev? Come on, Bev. I'm only using eye level. Bev's my eye level. That's eye level. Bev's finger is at eye level. Yeah, Bev? Bev's eye level. Eye level, Bev. Bev. Eye level's here. Bev. Bev's finger. Bev. Eye level. Eye level, Bev. I'm not using trigonometry. I'm just using the image and what you can see in the image. That's all I'm using. It's just an image. That's why I've actually called it. It's just an image. Randomly occultate. I spent 2 months analysing this image, Bev. It's an image with things on. Imagine your head. Your head, Bev, is the mountain. Your head is the mountain. Where is the bottom of your head? Where's the bottom of it? Well, you know, if your head was behind there, how much of your head would we see? You know? Well, we might see your eyes and your nose, maybe. But what's happened to your top lip and your chin and everything else? Probably down here. What's happened to all that? Where is it gone? Right? Because this mountain, you might as well have a face on it, because that's what it is. It literally is a face. It's got the markings on it that you need to identify what you're looking at. Right? What do we see, Bev? Come on, Bev. And that's why I'm thanking you, mate. That's why I'm thanking you. I'm just looking at an image and just saying, there's the hill, right? We know some things on this hill. We know some feet. I love Bev. I love, thank you, Bev. Eye level. Bev. It's a simple question. Right. That's been a quick, 15-minute stream for me, I think? Yeah, 20-minute stream, something like that. Anyway, and I appreciate you all stopping by. Thank you very much. I don't want to talk, as I say, it's nothing to do with trigonometry. It's nothing to do with globe proof. It's just asking the question. It's just an image. And this is for the Flat Earth Debate team too. Anyway, well, what can I say? Hashtag thanks, Bev. Hashtag thanks, Bev. Keep that going. I might make a t-shirt about it. How's about that? A t-shirt and a flat cap. What do you think? Should I put it on a Teespring shop? Hashtag thanks, Bev. I think I might do that, actually. That'd be pretty cool. I make you famous, Bev. How's about that? Right. That'll do, guys. And I will see you all in the next one, guys. Take care.
Shout out to Flip Flop. Shout out to Ranty.
Hashtag thanks, Bev.
Honestly, I was just normally educated for until I graduated high school. I didn't go to college to anything science or math or nothing like that. So I learned from the globe, which I was very interested in the globe, and I saw a lot of documentaries before. And I learned from the globe. I learned the globe, the details, through flat earthers, through the eyes of flat earthers, and I learned the details through their eyes. And I didn't want to see the globe side, the actual side. I didn't want to look at the bunkers or nothing like that. I just wanted to learn about the globe, being a flat earther. So everything, the way flat earthers explained the globe to me, of course I was a flat earther, because nothing made sense.
Triple Crow, I just want to throw out there that Farmer's Boy is a flat earther too.
In East Anglia, which are famously flat.
Yeah, what Farmers are saying, he's talked about, it's pretty flat. It does look flat.
I just wanted to say about Ranty's recent conversion, if anyone's interested. I got to tell you, I don't believe a single word that comes out of his mouth. Not at all. I think he was playing the flat earthers, and I think he's playing us. I don't believe a single thing that he says.
I think, and I mean, this may go down well. It might not go down so well, but I wouldn't throw those observations away or some of those analyses right now, because there's some research that me and Katz are actually working on, and it's possible that there could be a better explanation and an easier explanation and still have the globe.
No, that's fair. Yeah, go ahead.
So we are still working on that, and hopefully we'll have that information out hopefully in the next couple of weeks on a live stream of his. We have got papers that go with it, so there are people out there in their field that are discussing this phenomena and how it works and what it does and the effects of this, etc., etc., etc. So it's just that they haven't cross-pollinated that with flat Earth yet. So if that's possible to be able to demonstrate that, okay, you can see 15 miles, you can see 20 miles from sea level and it still be a globe. And one other thing as well, removing the idea of looming. That's the key thing, because I think we've all been hoodwinked with that. I think we've all been thrown a spanner in the works with that one thing, because it's the one thing that flat earthers always will never, ever, ever, ever agree on, which is that you can have looming. And it's never been demonstrated by the globers for proof of that. But if we came up with an explanation that didn't require that, and it still being a globe, and a lot of observations would then make sense, and you wouldn't have that bendy magic going on, well, I think it's a win for everyone.
Excellent, man. Yeah, guys, feel free. Ranty, I don't know if all of you have been here, but appreciate you jumping in. Don't be pedantic and don't go crazy and ask silly questions. Take advantage and, chat with Ranty for a minute there.
So what's happened recently is I've basically, when I first joined this debate, and well, it wasn't even a debate, I joined, well, I didn't even do that. I actually just went out and bought a camera because I watched a few videos. That was it. Just watched a few videos about, is the Earth flat? I bought a P900. I went down to the beach. I could see further than I should on the globe, and I put a video out. And the very first video I put out, Sleeping Warrior made a hit piece against me because he just went live calling me a super fan of his. I had no idea who the hell he was talking about, but he was clearly thinking I was some kind of troll. And then I actually watched his live stream, and inside it, he goes, "Oh, actually, you might be a flat earther." But he started the stream as in, "Oh, look at this other troll that's coming after me." And I'm like, hell no. Honestly, I swear to God, that was the first interaction with any kind of YouTube trolling or anything like that that had ever gone on. And then, before you know it, obviously, you get dragged in and you start building your channel, you start doing more observations, more people look to you to do more work, you do more work, more people look for you for answers. Before you know it, more people are coming to you with observations to try and figure out, with more people subscribing to your channel, and before you know it, you're in a situation where, you don't want to slow down, and you don't want to disappoint your audience, and you don't want to disappoint your subscribers, and you don't want to not understand the next thing that's down the line, and you want to look at yesterday's work and think, well, what was that? Let me go and figure it out. And all from nothing, all from me watching a bloody video. I ended up in a situation where I'm, essentially working full time doing this, sort of just, that's all I was thinking about for years. So to actually experience no drop from where I film. So it's not like I could, well, where I film, it's not like you've got a landmark and something else that you can look at and then determine drop. There's none of that. So the only things that I can really look across are the waters, and the waters appear to be flat. It has to be said, the waters do appear to be flat. You can see a long way. So I was always saying, well, yeah, you can't see drop in my location. Prove me wrong. And I was quite happy at that point until I saw that image. And when I saw that image, I was like, oh, fuck.
Before I pass the mic,
I got an
I forgot.
question.
Hold on, Brian. Before I pass the mic, last quick point from me. I know you. I mean, you have kind of not been hours and long hours going around everywhere, but on the places that you have gone, because I know you were on Gem Panda for a little bit, and maybe here or there. From the globe side, the globers that were, if there were anybody that was really nasty and harsh to you when you were a flat earther, Were there any that approach you now that you have spoken with them personally, and they go like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, man"?
Well, no, not really. Because I think I'd say in the last 2 years or so, I really haven't been trolled by anyone. Really,
Good.
you know, on any side. You know, I mean, you know, when somebody new comes on the scene, then you know, the first thing you do is you go after them. And you know, when I was first on the scene, I didn't care, so they would. It was like water off a duck's back, and the more they came after me, the more I didn't. It didn't bother me. So, but then I think people just got to seeing that, you know, I wasn't a troll. I wasn't out there causing problems for other people. I wasn't being a twat to other people.
You know a very important point, and they've been talking about. They say why it's very strange that Ranty, the day before he went on Cats, he went on Brandon's show and he was asking everybody if they were a flat earther or a glober. And when you gave your answer, you say, "I am a flat earther," and Mick West 7/6R, blah blah blah. "I am a flat earther," and then the next day you come in, they say that's some kind of a tactic he's using. I say, dude, that I was telling earlier, Chris Berry, the same thing I did the day before I went on Arwin on my own because there was nobody else live. If Nathan was on, I would have gone on Nathan, but Nathan was off that day. So I say, let me go to Gem Panda and talk to the guys. I say, yeah, I'm a flat earther. Ask me any question. I'm going to debate all of you. And they were asking me all the questions. I put myself in the spot. I was like, holy shit, I got no answers, you know? And the next day I came clean. So it's kind of I mean, from my perspective, I don't think you did it on purpose or some kind of a clickbait type of thing. Or did you?
I went in there with an agenda, which was to ask through all the panelists what their opinion was on standard refraction. Essentially, you know, getting and that's why I clarified it with them. Are you a flat earther? Do you believe, or are you a globe earther? And do you believe in standard refraction? Because I needed it for this next line of research. I needed some kind of baseline where I could go back and say, I asked 25 individual people on a panel. Let's say 7 of them were globers and 18 of them were flat earthers, and I asked every one of them about standard refraction. Did they believe in it, and what their beliefs were about the shape?
I never got to answer it that day, but I got one comment and one question. What's up, Randy? But
you're right.
Just to see how I feel about the whole thing.
Wait a minute. So I needed I needed that. I needed to hear it from their own voices, because then I had a baseline to work on, and it was what I had assumed. I had assumed that most, if not all, flat earthers don't believe in standard refraction looming, and that all globe earthers, bar maybe just a handful, let's say, believe that things are loomed up from behind the horizon. So I had that clear. Obviously, I'd assumed that this was the case, but it was nice to actually hear that from the panelists and them verbalize it without me telling them what I was doing it for, because I was surreptitiously going in to find out. And when I'd asked them all, you know, I was just about to hit, you know, I'm going on mute, and Brandon asked me. He says, "Well, what do you think?" I was like, well, as a flat earther, I would say that I don't believe in standard refraction. You know, that it's nonsense, that Mick West's 7/6R bollocks, you know, it's all bollocks. I don't believe in looming, right? So, but that was all due to the research that I've been doing with conspiracy cats and trying to reconcile that one thing, because there is a big divide. There's a big divide between flat earthers and globe earthers on this one subject. And
I'll tell you why I don't believe in that too. My one comment was about standard refraction.
Well, it's just one. It's just one thing that we are. Well, there's two things actually, but one of the main ones anyway is this idea that you can have things loomed up from behind the horizon, and there is such. I mean, you might as well dig a trench and go back to World War I and pretend you're in the trenches there, and nobody's going to give a ground at any. Honestly, you might as well, you know. And the lines are very clearly defined, but I think there's something in. I think there's a way inside of that, in no man's land, where the answer lies, where everybody's right. Flat earthers are right that they can see further, and flat earthers are right because you don't have this fucking looming bollocks. But the globe earthers are right because it's still a globe, right? It sounds convoluted. Good, the only thing I was ever interested in when I first picked up my P900 5 years ago, or whatever it was to just go down the beach and see whether there was any curvature where I lived.
Beautiful.
I didn't see it. That's the only thing I was interested in, right? And I never saw it. I'm satisfied that we live on a globe after analysing that image. That'll do for me. The rest of it is the rest of it's all just hearsay and nonsense. I don't get into that.
I say, dude, I'm gonna make this statement, and now that you're here, you correct me if I'm wrong. I say, I don't think Ranty gives two fucks about the sun, on the moon, on the stars, and the rotations, and none of that shit. Ranty, from the get-go, he's interested in the land we stand on. He's interested in observations and what's going on down to earth. He couldn't give a fuck about the sun and the moon and the stars. He will figure it out later.
True,
is that a fair statement, Ranty?
That is a very fair statement.
It's not because wait, we still got 6 months left, Ranty. You challenge us to study the sun.
Brian Leakey, let Ranty address what I say, please.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, that was my personal.
We're challenging the sun. That's all.
Okay, but yeah, that's fine. So, but for me personally, I was only ever interested in my location and whether there was any curvature. That's all I was. I couldn't care what happened in Hawaii. I couldn't care what happened in New Zealand. I was just interested in seeing it for myself or having somewhere local where I could go to and experience seeing the drop. And that image, and Bev, thanks Bev, from landmass to landmass to landmass, which is 3 points on land, you can definitively determine that there is drop. Definitively. There's no ums about it. There's no ahs about it. There's no horizon to worry about. There's no water refraction going on. There's none of that. It's landmass to landmass to landmass. And then it's very simple. Known distances, known elevations of everything that you look at. Most people would have seen that image and said, what a beautiful image of Blackpool. I looked at it and thought, what a beautiful image of Blackpool. And then my first thought was to start analysing it. And even though I'd stepped away from the argument, stepped away from the debates, I was hoping that it was just going to show a flat plane. But when it didn't, and it showed drop, then, well, you know, my head turned upside down because it was so clear.
Dude, you've seen similar images before, and I don't think it's just this. But when you saw this image and the analysis and the comparison and everything was in front of you, I bet you had some flashbacks in your head, like, you know what, this one now add up, this one makes more sense. Did everything come back to you, a lot of things that you've seen before after this?
No, I had to go back to square one. I had to reassess everything from start to finish and think, how come I've got 7 terabytes of data? How come I've got so many observations of shore to shore? Why am I seeing this when I look over this image and I look over where I'm filming from, and it's very clear that it's curving? I couldn't reconcile this. I was not happy with what I was seeing. I had 2 months to research, and I have been researching for 2 months behind the scenes, and that's why, you know, we've got papers, we've got research that's been conducted in all different locations throughout the world that back up what I'm going to be talking about coming soon, that explain why you may be able to have a localized flatness, flat water localized, but, you know, obviously over the greater distance it is curved. And it sounds convoluted. Rumpus will disagree, Ruhif will disagree, and I'm not bothered about that. You know, it's just information that I'm just going to put out there. But if it satisfies, it satisfied me enough to be able to step forward, because without that research, I don't think I'd have been able to bite the bullet and say, I believe in Midwest 7/6R standard refraction looming. Now, I'm not talking about all the other stuff that goes on, which is the towering, the stooping, all the compression, all that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about anything to do with that.
Time.
I'm talking about specifically looming. That's it. The only, you know, things being lifted up from behind Earth curve. That's the only thing that I would, you know, challenge, and being able to find some different research that may suggest that that is not needed on the globe model. Right, but to still get the same observations that we've been getting on a globe, that to me made me then step forward, because I'd found what I considered was a viable answer for all the research that I'd done, and also being able to step back and be a globe earther.
What causes the apparent junction? Is it Earth curvature or your eyesight?
Again, you know, I mean, I'm not too fussed about the arguments around that. I'm an image person, and I'm an image person. I take pictures, I look at images. And I don't need to understand wherever this is going. I just need to understand that there is a picture out there. So for me personally, I don't need to answer anything other than, there's the image, analyze it yourself, come to your own conclusions. That's what I did. So be honest, I mean, I pretty much wrote the book on optics for flat earthers. I mean, guaranteed. I mean, there was other people out there doing the same sort of research as well, you know, but I was always really pushing hard, talking about the inferior mirage, for instance, when nobody else would go near it. You know, I mean, things like that. You know, I mean, I literally pushed hard for optics because I thought it was the way to go. And for me, in this image, I thought of everything, every explanation that I'd ever thought of, every explanation that anybody else had thought of, and I tried applying it to this image. And at every single step, my reasoning failed at every single step. And you know what they say? I think it was at Sherlock Holmes. If you exhaust every other angle and the most ludicrous is the only is the only explanation that's left, then that's who did it or whatever. That's the answer, you know. And that's what I did. I went through everything I could think of to try and explain it, and I couldn't. So it only left me with one thing. If you can only see half of that mountain, and you know what you're looking, you know the location, which I do, and you know all the parameters of everything that's been given to you, you know all the elevations of everything, you know the elevation of the camera,
understanding perspective, angular reductions, everything, accounting on everything, yeah.
Accounting for everything. I accounted for every single thing that I could think of. Believe you me, if there was an image that I wanted to find a flat earth proof for or to find an explanation for, it was this. And I tried, really did everything. Couldn't answer it. What do I do with that? Well, I have to then go back to the start where I first started, take all my observations, and maybe think out of the box a bit. Go back to being a globe earther for a time, but with some flat earth research, and let's see if I can find a different explanation. I looked at it another way. I was retired from the debates. I'd walked away. I'd given my channel away to somebody else. I'm just a name now, nothing else. There's nothing special about me. You know, everyone else, they're still carrying on doing their thing. And you're right, I could have just absolutely stayed away and not got involved, not got bothered, not had the hassle. But when I saw that image, I felt like I owed it to my subscribers. 5,000 people subscribed to me for a reason. They subscribed to me because they knew I'd tell them the truth, because I would explain something if I found an explanation, or they would know that they could come to me and ask me a question. I would tell them as best as I could. And when I saw that image, I just couldn't sit behind it and sit on it and just think, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to, I'm just going to push it away to one side and forget about it, because that isn't who I am. I saw that image and I just thought, I'm going to have to tell people. I'm going to have to come clean. I'm going to have to show them this. And people can say about me what they want. I'm going to get flack for it. I didn't need it in my life right now.
You see the irony, Randy,
right? My life right now.
You see the irony with you and me, because I'm interested into the same thing that you were, and always are in the optics and long distance observations. And this simple little lighthouse with stripes is kind of the one big straw, the one big drop that just overflowed that cup. I just couldn't take it, man. You know.
I said that on Conspiracy Cat's first video that he put out. I said there's just a few observations that I can't explain or whatever. And I said maybe Jose JG's, which lighthouse, maybe Canigou, and maybe Timmy Osmond. And I said they were the three observations that I struggled to, process as a flat earther. Canigou, not so much. That was just a tip of the hat to Ruhif. But your one with the lighthouse, and also Timmy Osmond's with what he did at elevation, looking at that distance.
Yeah,
I forget where it was now. But you know the one.
Through the lake, yeah.
But yeah, they're the only two that I've really had a problem with. The rest I could pretty much, explain, or at least try to explain, and do a bloody good explanation of doing it too. But
can I ask Randy some questions?
Those two were difficult for me.
Cool. That
hey, Randy, it's Chris.
What's up, Chris? Yeah, go ahead, man.
Hey, Chris, you all right?
Hey, yeah, pretty good. So look, I'm just going to be honest, right? I mean, you and I have always had a good relationship, despite what's happened with you and the Oakley group and your old show group, or whatever has happened in the past. I was never involved in any of that, so I always felt like we had a good rapport. We even, we worked on some music collab stuff there for a minute. And so I don't know, I guess for me, I'm surprised the way that you came out. So I know I kind of chatted with you on the side a bit. I think the strange thing for me is we've talked about this. I've talked about this with the Oakley group, with this group. And it's strange because you came out on your old show Friday, and then you asked everyone what they were and what they thought of the refraction thing. And then it got to you and you said definitively, I'm a flat earther, and I think Mick West 7.6 hours, bullcrap, whatever you said, right, specifically. And then the very next day, like less than 24 hours later, you go on Cats and say all of a sudden you're a Glober because of this one photo. Not just because of that. I guess you mentioned 2 or 3 things. Fine. So did you do that on purpose, like, or did it just play out that way? Like, why did you go on your old show the night before?
Well, I went on the old show to basically get a snap as it was there and then questionnaire out between the panelists that were on. Now, I knew that I knew that I'd be able to go on the show and ask everyone individually whether they were a flat earther or a globe earther and did they believe in standard diffraction and looming, right? And that was for this next line of research that I'm doing, right? Something that I've been working on the past 2 months. And I had a belief that most, if not all, flat earthers would say that they didn't believe in standard diffraction looming. And I believe that, again, most globers would say that, right? Because in order to put out why I think there is so much animosity between the two camps on this particular subject, and the research that I've been doing, which may answer everybody's question, right? It may give a win for flat Earth about there is no standard refraction looming. You can have localized flat water, but it can still be a globe. Sounds very convoluted, I know, but trust me, there's research out there by other people far more intelligent than I that have already done this sort of work, but not in the flat Earth, not tied it into flat Earth. But if I'm able to bring that in as like a go-between between the two camps, you know, then that might satisfy a lot of people and be easier for people to say, well, yeah, that's why we see too far. Of course, you know, I mean, it's nothing to do with standard diffraction, which flat earthers don't believe. But then the globe earthers get the win anyway because it's still a globe. So it's like a win-win for everyone. But I needed that snapshot of time to jump in, ask the panelists as it was at that moment before anything was spoken about. And I had that opportunity, and I did. I came and I asked it. And I was just about to hit mute and go on silence, and and Brandon hit me with it. Well, he said, well, what do you think? So I had to answer the question, you know, there and then on the spot, as I'd asked everybody else. Are you a flat earther, globe earther, and do you believe in standard diffraction? Well, I hadn't told anybody what I was going to say about the show, and I wasn't 100% sure either what I was going to say. Still was, you know, it was sticking in my throat to even think about saying I was going back to the globe. But when I was asked at that moment in time, I just said what I said normally, because I wasn't, as I say, I didn't intend to actually just say, yeah, I'm going back to the globe. I wanted to put this information out first and then move forward. Well, put the information out, show what I'd seen, do the analysis on it, say I was going to go away for a time, research it, come back with a different explanation, and then say, it's easier for me to go back on the globe because of this, right? Because of this research. But I didn't do that on Katz's channel. I just said that. But I haven't put the research out yet that will show that, hey, you can have flatter water in different locations because of this, but it's still a globe. And the reason you get, and if you've got flatter water, you are going to see further because that 8 inches per mile squared isn't uniform all over the globe, right?
Okay. So, but it's not just flat water, right? Because you yourself have taken observations. So you have one, I don't know if it's a Blackpool Tower or wherever that fall is, but 18 miles, 1 foot observation shore to shore. So you're seeing the other shore without inferior mirage in some of your videos that I've seen personally. So how that doesn't answer that you could have longer flat water spots, but then you have to say the land is flat to that point too, right?
No, I think it all pans in. It's easier for a globe earther to just say it's refraction, right? Than to explain, you know, when I've put this research out, what am I going to say? I'm going to call it. I have no idea, right? I've been working with Conspiracy Cats on it. We have got papers that back us up on this, so it's not something that's just going to be just put out there and it's all garbledly and, you know, doesn't make any sense to anybody. But what the hell do we call it? I mean, how do you explain to somebody what we're going to explain when you can just say refraction and then you don't have any comeback on that? Because as a globe earther, it's basically like the silver bullet. It's a silver bullet to a werewolf, right? Doesn't matter how big the werewolf is, you've got a silver bullet, you can just shoot it, right? But, you know, werewolves don't accept that silver bullets exist, right? And that's the divide that we have, right? But what happens if there's a medium there, an in-betweener, an in-between thing. And hopefully we're going to put some of the information out that should hopefully appease people. And if it does, then it works out great. If it doesn't, and nobody cares about it, listen to it and they go, "Oh, it's a lot of bollocks, fuck it." We'll just go back to arguing with each other and digging trenches and just pretending we're back in World War One again and just fucking firing at each other. And nobody goes in that ground in the middle that says, you know, this could be something that you want to look at, and this is something that you could perhaps accept. And if you accept that and you accept this, then you know you can work together and you can just come to a consensus rather than globe earthers always assuming that flat earthers are fucking retarded.
Again, for me, Ranty, and I said this in my Skype chat to you, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think, I mean, you're saying a lot of in between things, like you just said we to a flat earther, so you camped yourself back in the flat earth group. Maybe that was habit. Earlier on this same chat, you said I had to put myself in the globe position temporarily or for a short time, something like that. Again, which is sort of on the edge. So like, if I were to ask you point blank, what percentage are you that you're now 100% sure it's a globe? Like, are you 52-48 globe to flat? Are you 60-40? Kind of what's that look like? Because again, you just, some of the things you're saying are still a little on the line.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to what you said then. What was the second thing you said? When you said go back for a time. Yeah. So basically what I had to do. So when I was trying to reconcile about that image, I had to go back to square one. I had to put myself back as a glober. So let's go, but we'll be in there in April. So let's go back to February. I had to go back to February, accept that, you know, let's take this out of the box. Let's go back to being a glober, because I went through every explanation that flat earth could offer about that one image, right? And I couldn't answer it as a flat earther. So I had to go back to being a glober at that moment in time and say, right, okay, then let's apply some of the knowledge that I've understood about flat earth and try and find something different. Try and find an explanation for all the research that I've done, all the research that the Plain Truth has done, all the research that Wide Awake has done, and say to her, or you know, and you know, try and apply this into a globe model, right? So when I said that, that's what I was meaning back then, you know. So that's when I said that. As for what my percentage is, well, having seen the image, you know, it's quite definitive that I know people live in that location, and that on a flat plane they would be underwater. So it's not even in question, you know. I mean, it's so I mean, the imagery is so clear, and it's not just the one image as well. I was able to drag the same information out from Bev's image. So based upon that, and knowing that I can go to that location as many times as I want, I'm back on the globe, mate. I'm 100% back on the globe.
Yeah, you're not trying to refute the black swan with this theory?
No, not at all. In fact, you know, if my theory is true, if my theory is correct, and Conspiracy Cat's theory is correct too, well, I say Conspiracy Cats is helping me with this research, so I'm not going to lump him in with this right now because I don't want to speak for him. But if my theory is correct, then the black swan is actually a function of nature. It's just a function of how this globe functions, right? So it wouldn't be a black swan; it would just be a function of nature. You'll know that I gave it 110%. I must have spent 200 hours trying to analyze this image in a different way other than globe.
If it sucks, I don't know why. Anyways, I've never really talked to you, Ranty, I don't think. Quick question, 2 questions for you. When you took this last observation that you're talking about, what was your elevation and the camera eye height? What was its elevation, and what was the elevation of the mountain and the distance the mountain was away from you?
Okay,
well, this at the top of your head, Ranty?
Well, firstly, I didn't take. Are you talking about an image that I might have taken locally, or are you talking about this particular image that I've been presenting?
I'm sorry, I thought you said you took that image.
Sorry. Yeah, I think the particular image on question, yeah.
So the particular image in question, it's taken from a place called the Velvet Trail in Southport, and the Google Earth elevation for that says around about 6 to 8 meters. Now, I've been to that location several times before in the past, and I'm going to say that it's probably closer to 12 meters in elevation, just because I know the location and just because I know where the tide comes up to. And looking at the image, I'm going to assume, quite probably reasonably actually, that it's at low tide. And based upon those factors, I'm going to give an elevation of about 12 meters. Now, I've been to the location a few times. Bev went to that's Bev Try Thinking. He went to the same spot too. He's a level earther, let's say. And he went to the same location too. And he's described himself around about 20 feet in elevation, which is about 7 meters or so. So we're not too far off 7 meters, 12 meters. It doesn't really matter. I think you could even go up to 25 meters. It really doesn't make much difference.
How much of the mountain was hidden, Ranty?
I would guesstimate about 350 meters. That would be a solid guess. What was special about this image is because it was just local to me, and I'd never seen the mountain so clear. I'd never seen all the peaks and everything covered in snow, so you could see all the ridges on it. And
yeah, I just got the image up on screen. I got the image up on screen as you speak.
Yeah, and because it's got shadows on it as well, it's got all the 3D effects on it and everything like that. So it really looks like a 3D image. I mean, you just look at that and it's just screaming to be analysed. You look at that and it's just screaming to be analysed. And for me personally, you know, having never experienced or seen curvature locally, then to actually see this image and think, I can analyse this. This is going to be a flat Earth proof. This will validate all my work. Look at how beautiful this image is, and then I analyze it and think, fuck.
Well, would you like to go through the Mount San Jacinto image together and analyze it the same way? All right.
Yeah,
I'll contact you.
Yeah, I would like that, because I haven't. I'll be honest. I'll be absolutely hold my hands up. I didn't really ever pay any attention to that image. In fact, I haven't really looked at J. In fact, you look on my channel, I don't really promote J. Tolan media at all. I don't think I've ever shown any of his work. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I might have done once maybe, but I don't really follow his work. So, you know,
I will look forward for that. If you sit down with Bob one day and just to look at that picture and break it down, that would be cool to see, because I typed earlier a flat earther to get to any kind of conclusion. You cannot sit down with another flat earther that had very hard hold on the flat earth. You have to sit down with the opposite view where they got their side of view. When you sit down together, then you will find that middle spot if you are both honest on the analysis, and that will be cool. I would love to see that.
Thank you. Well, here, let me just say that I had no.
You can name the channel. I'll host it, or you can name the channel where you want it hosted.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Yeah, we'll do it on yours. Yeah, for me personally, though, this was a personal exploration. I didn't search out Conspiracy Cats or Ruhif for a validation of this. This was all me. You know, I was trying to push them to do any kind of research on it or to present something ready. I mean, I told them this 2 months ago and they just sat on their hands and did nothing. It was me that was worried about this image. It was me that was doing the analysis. It was me that was really struggling to come to terms with that. And I didn't get the help from them to figure it out. I literally did all this myself, which was a cathartic moment for me.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can you see the picture, Ranty?
Hold on. Which one?
It's in chat. 10:17 p.m.
10:17.
This is the image that you analysed, yeah?
Hold on. 10:17. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
This is the image that you analysed.
Yes.
I reposted it.
Is the sun coming in from the west?
Coming in from the west?
On the mountains, would them shadows indicate the sun is setting in the west?
Yeah, it would indicate that. I mean, don't forget this was taken back in around about February, which means that we don't get, it's a very quick Sunday back. The sun is only up for a short time. So I would, based upon what I'm seeing here and based upon those angles, I'm going to say if it was sunset at 4 o'clock, it's likely that this was taken sometime in the early afternoon, maybe 1 o'clock or 1:30.
We can see in the foreground this long grass that got shadow in from that left-hand side, which would be the west as well. Yes.
it looks to me as I don't know what you're asking. It looks to me like based upon what I can see of the shadows, that the sun was probably around about 1 o'clock in the sky.
Right.
Randy,
Why isn't Blackpool Tower lit up by the sun?
Blackpool Tower, because it's closed down during the winter.
Oh, so they turn the sun off, do they, in the winter?
No, they turn Blackpool Tower off in the winter.
Right. Why isn't it lit up by the same sun that is casting the shadows on the mountains?
Maybe
doesn't light up.
Maybe because the mountains are covered in snow and there's a very big contrast, and you're able to see the shadows very clearly on a very white mountain range, as opposed to a very dull and dark series of buildings, including Blackpool Tower, which is just a very dark building if you've ever looked at it. So the shadows probably don't get very highlighted on them, but on the ridges behind, covered in snow that are brilliant white, I would assume that they would be the most prominent feature in this image.
Don't you think there is a discrepancy in the lighting from the foreground to the midground and to the background? Is that not? No.
Having been out and taken photography in the past, this is just seems to be like a regular image. Bev,
you cannot do geometry from a photograph.
You're a Bevtard, and I know you've come in here. Let me post the image.
I'm not a Bevtard at all.
You are a Bevtard.
Geometry from a photograph.
Here we go. There we go. Guys, I'm going to post the image. I've posted the image for
Thank you. I'll post that on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh yes.
For Jose to show up.
Thank you. Yep.
So you can absolutely see the same trough in the same location with the same elevation in relation to the tower. You can absolutely see all that. The parallax issue is nothing. He was probably 15 or 20 meters to the left of where this image was originally taken. And he was from the same spot, same location, same car park, but you're seeing the same relative positions of everything. And you can definitely still see the same trough in the same spot.
So that peak that's to the right of Blackpool Tower, in Bev's picture, it is just to the left of Blackpool Tower. That would alter if Bev had moved 3 foot to the left, do you think?
What, it would have altered what? How much parallax do you... How much?
No, the peak. I'm talking about the peak.
Yes. What about it?
The peak that is to the right of Blackpool Tower in the snowy image, it is to the left of Blackpool Tower in Bev's sun's image.
Yes. I'm talking about the trough. See the big trough between those two hills, just to the right hand side of the main image. See that big trough? You can still see that big trough in
from
Bev's
the same
image.
Place, are they?
It's
how can you compare
within 15 meters of it? And
it's not 15 meters. If Bev had moved 15 meters, that would move to the left.
No, yes, I've been there. I know how photography works. I would imagine that you couldn't probably pick up one image right now and present it to us from your camera that shows any kind of flat Earth research. Go ahead, show me an image that you've taken that shows flat Earth research, please.
I don't use pictures.
Right, okay, so you don't use pictures, right? Thank you. Right.
No, they're all distorted.
So anyway, so this is
parallax.
I appreciate it, but Brian, make your last statement so we can move on and get somebody else.
Right. All pictures are distorted by the atmosphere. You should never, ever try and do any sort of measurements from an image, especially over tens or hundreds of miles. 20 foot, 30 foot, you might get some sort of measurement, but nothing like this. The atmosphere distorts what you're seeing. That's why railway tracks look like they're coming together when they don't. That is why the clouds look like they come down and touch the sea when they don't. It is distortion, and you should not take any measurements from anything that is distorted.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
That said, photometry is a well-defined science, and we measure things with photographs all the time.
You know, I mean, he's obviously come on to try and derail the parallax issue, which, to be fair, is about a 15 or 20 meter deviation to the left from the same spot, from the same car park. And I could definitively go to that same location, take the same image and move 15, 20 meters to one way or the other, and you would see a similar parallax to what you're actually looking at here. And I'll tell you why, because the top of Blackpool Tower is, let's say, it's about 80 meters around the top. And if you look at how much it's parallaxed, it's not that much. And when you consider the distances between the two, which is about a 1/4 ratio, you only have to move about 20 meters to one side to get that same parallax. So Brian, you need to understand your trigonometry and whatever else you need to understand. You need to understand optics, because you clearly do not. But one thing that wouldn't have changed is the relative positions of these, or the heights of these. And it's very definitive. You can even see the trough in the image, and it's the trough that I'm focusing on. I'm not asked about anything else. Let me post an image of what I'm talking about. I don't even need to talk about the parallax. I don't need to talk about the what it should look like trigonometry wise, whether the tower should be higher than the mountain. I don't need to talk about that. The only thing I'm interested in is this image here, and I'm going to show it you now. And it's all about what you can see on the mountain. There's some definitive things on that mountain that you can pick out, and based upon the known elevations of those things, you can definitively prove where that mountain, the bottom of that mountain, should be in relation to Blackpool Tower. It's as simple as that. I don't need trigonometry for this.
Hold on 1 second. I had to take some drastic measurements in today's call because it's Ranty the first day, and I wanted to chat with Ranty. We want to chat with Ranty, but when there's 3 or 4 people talking, I don't want a cheat show. I want to just maybe clip this segment of we all hanging out with Ranty, but we don't need nobody shouting and yelling. And it's fair. It's been fair. So I got at least feedback from Chris Berry and other people that I'm doing okay by keeping it in the down low like this, so we can have a decent conversation. Shout out to Conspiracy Cats in the YouTube chat. Carry on, guys.
I posted an image in the chat if you want to put that up, Jose.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I got you. It is
okay.
Up.
Right, cool. So basically, you can see Bev there, and Bev. Sorry, Brian's one of Bev's minions. Bev eye line. Well, eye level Bev's. I don't have to see. I don't have to say it's a globe. I don't have to ask. I don't have to work trigonometry. I don't have to talk about any of that. I just have to say, if this is a flat plane, where's the rest of that mountain then? Because Bev's, where's the rest of the mountain? That's it.
Did you put this into the curve calculator?
I did, but I don't even need to do that. But I did do that, and
you did put it in the curve calculator. And how did the results come back compared to what you actually saw?
Without refraction, there should have been 375 meters of missing.
And with standard refraction?
I think it was about 320, something like that. And that fits right in the ball.
Pretty accurate. Yeah, pretty accurate.
It fits right in the ball.
So in other words, well in line.
Yep, okay. Well, almost identical. That's why when I first showed this to the world, let's say on Conspiracy Cats channel, it was a case of, if you ever wanted to use an image for a globe Earth proof, then this was the one. And that was the reason why. It's because it's a spectacular image of the precise amount of hidden that you would expect on a globe. And
it's a nice white swan, but
definitive.
Black swans are prettier.
Be warned, Ranty is claiming you and him are creating a theory. I said Conspiracy Cats is helping me with some research, and this is all based upon me. This is all down to me. I said Conspiracy Cats is just helping me find the information. I said, so I'm not going to speak for him. I'm not going to make a claim on his behalf. If he wants to make a claim on it, that's entirely up to him. But me personally, this is my claim. And I was very adamant. You can replay the tape and you will hear me say that, Rumpus. So please do not put words into my mouth, and don't misrepresent me, and don't try, because you are a refraction maniac, to try and already get in there and scupper it before it even starts. So behave yourself. Please don't expect that I'm going to be making a channel or saying a Globe Earth debate platform and all that stuff that I've been asked, because I have been asked that, and that isn't what I'm here for. I was never in that for in the first place, really. That wasn't me, and I just came in to find out for myself. I ended up in a situation where I ended up doing all this research, but I'm here now, and I'm basically tying up loose ends, just wrapping it all up, and letting people know where the finishing line was for me personally, and then moving past that.
That you could tie up, Ranty.
Go on.
There's been a lot of talk about your appearance on Brandon's show last Friday.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, I've answered that.
Discuss that?
Yeah, we discussed it earlier.
I missed it. Sorry.
Well, let me just qualify that. I just wanted a snap visual as it was there and then of what people's opinions were as a flat earther and a globe earther, and whether or not they believed in looming standard refraction or whether they didn't. And I just needed to qualify that because it was a theory I already had,
Obviously,
and I was pretty sure that I was correct. That most flat earthers would agree that standard refraction looming is nonsense,
Small
and
grid variation.
all
I'm
let's
guessing.
say globe earthers would disagree and say that
guessing we're
no,
gonna have some
standard
small
refraction
grids,
looming is part of their model and that's what they believe and blah, blah, blah,
variations
blah.
of these
So I just wanted
items
that
as well.
snap.
You disagreed with it too, though.
Like small
You
Yes,
disagreed
I
with it as
still
well, as a
disagree
flat
with it
earther.
now. I still disagree with it now. That's the thing.
Well, I
This
just
is
saw
a line
something
of research that I'm working on that will hopefully, well, may turn out to be true. It may turn out to be just total hogwash, right? But, you know, I still can't reconcile, even though I've come back to a globe, that there's this looming going on. I still can't process that, right? And if I found a different solution to that, if I found one, and I'm able to prove it through other people's research that may not have crossed over into the field of flat Earth, but I'm able to bring that in and say, hey, you can apply this to this, and this may be and this is the reason why, and everything. Well, this is why you can see further on flatter water, still a globe though, flatter water, still a globe though, flatter water, still a globe though, you know. And in that case, you negate the 7 over 6 hour refraction, looming nonsense, not the other stuff, stooping, you know, compression, all that, you know, Fata Morganas, Fata Bromosas, you get all that. But the actual looming from behind Earth curve, if you can negate that, it would satisfy 50% of flat earthers immediately. And be far easier for them to switch back to the globe, knowing that when they go down to the beach and they see for 20 miles, they aren't looking at a hologram, you know, because they can't process that. I still can't process that.
No questions. I'd just like to thank Ranty for bringing this photo to our attention. It's quite a photograph, so thank you very much. I just downloaded it, been zooming in and looking at it. It's quite an image, so thank you.
No worries, it's a spectacular photograph,
isn't it?
Oh, cool. Are you just experimenting with it?
Well,
As the update
it can just be
already went out?
analysed. It's as simple as that. It can just be analysed, and you know, based upon that, you can make your own mind up. And that's why I would implore any flat earther in the chat to do the same thing. You know, to just go there, or take, you know, either take the word for it about these images, or just go there yourself and do your own calculations. What should it look like on a flat Earth? What should it look like? You know, and once you do that, you'll find that it doesn't match up in a big way, which can only leave you with one conclusion. You know, so I'm not promoting the globe Earth here, but I'm just saying apply it as a flat Earth. You know, on a flat Earth, see what you come up with. Find an explanation for why this image on a flat Earth works. Find one, because I can't. I spent 2 months trying to find an explanation.
Yeah, they've got their
and if anybody can
variations,
try to find an explanation of an image, it was me. Believe me, I did try. Couldn't do it. So, but you are more than welcome to go out and try and find a reason for this image.
I'm gonna try to get a hold of Chonji, Six Truth, Speak Truth, even though we have been bumping heads, and yourself, and maybe somebody else that have been either kind of in the middle of things, and I want and maybe do a little kind of a special, just us kind of ex-flat earthers, and talk about our journey a little bit. Where we, how did we get there? What did we do, and where are we now? You know, something like that. I mean, it's kind of a cool idea, but no rush. It could be in a few weeks, could be in a few months from now. So anytime I'll holler at you.
You know, I mean, if it's just the journey, that's fine. You know, I'm not into basically going after friends of mine on the flat Earth and saying they've done this or that or the other, blah 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 blah.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
me neither. Yeah.
Because there are a lot of highly intelligent, very close friends of mine too as well. Some of them, on both sides, you get some idiots, right? Like, I have to be honest, right? On both sides, you get idiots. On both sides, you get people that, you know, push the boundaries. But then again, you get some really decent people and some really highly intelligent people too. And I'm not going to, you know, throw any of them under the bus, you know, at all for anything. So there's not going to be a gossip.
No, exactly. It's about us, where we were and where we are today, kind of a journey, right?
Me, my
oh shit,
own...
they're coming to get you, Ranty.
Well, my personal journey was one of just finding curvature local to me. That's all I was interested in. I didn't care about Florida or Hawaii or New Zealand or anything. I just cared about curvature local to me, which I couldn't find, couldn't see it, couldn't find it myself. And okay, so I had to rely on somebody else to find curvature for me. But hey, I wasn't the only person to do that, because the guy that took the original image was also validated by Bev. Thanks, Bev. Thank you, Bev, for doing that, because he went back to this location and very honourably released the image that backed up the original image by somebody else. So without that validation from a level earther, then this image, this argument wouldn't have been where it is right now. So it's all down to him. Hashtag thanks Bev. I'm going to make a t-shirt of that. I am. I'm going to make a t-shirt of
There's
it.
obviously that
Most people, in fact everyone I think now agrees with that. But at that time, I lost everybody. Nobody wanted to know me. So I'm used to it. I kind of like I've always been a loner, kind of on my own journey, and I've always made it very clear I've always just been on my own journey. And people have followed me on that, which is great. And now they're seeing the culmination of that journey and where it's taken me and where I've ended up. And if they've had preconceived ideas the whole time and I've been the party to that, I do apologize. But ultimately, I couldn't sit back and just see this image and not talk about it, because this changed everything for me.
Well, I didn't see
Sean G say, good on you, Ranty. Welcome to the
group.
Welcome to the globe, I guess.
Thanks. Well, I guess when you're looking for truth, really maybe it's a lot harder to find. But when I wasn't looking for truth, I wasn't doing the shows, I wasn't participating too much in the flat earth stuff. I was living a different life completely, and then this image popped up. So it's like maybe this image may have got overlooked if I was still doing the shows, who knows, and the truth would have avoided me all that time. But when you're not looking for it, suddenly you just get surprised by something. And this definitely surprised me, because after 5 years of looking, finally somebody put an image out, and it was just a random guy who didn't put it out as a flat earth proof or a globe earth proof. He just put it out because it was a beautiful, scenic, picturesque image of Blackpool, and he posted it in a group on Facebook, specifically for people in Blackpool to look at. And it popped up in a feed. I saw it, and there was no intention to deceive, there was no intention to promote it as a proof in any way. It was just a beautiful scenic image, and I took that, and it is where it is now. And my whole paradigm changed after analysing it, because, as I say, I wasn't expecting to see this, but it did, and here we are.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I hope everything goes good for you. Hope everybody treats you nice. And also, boom, Jose, if you haven't liked it, if you haven't subscribed, do it now.
Are you, Illuminati shill?
Oh my god.
One of the two.
Right, okay, so I've always been my own man. I think anyone will tell you that. I don't really sit well in groups, and I have trouble conforming with stuff. So there was a reason that I left the flat earth debates with Nathan Oakley, and it was a well publicised reason for that. And that was because I believed that the standards that we held ourselves to, flat earthers, which was asking for research, wasn't being applied. Well, it was being applied to the globe earthers, but it wasn't being applied to flat earthers. So some people were able to get away with stuff, and I was like, that doesn't hold very well with me. And I disagreed with globers being punished for that, and also the fact that they weren't being given a free rein to speak. I didn't like that. So as you could call it a breakaway, but it was more a case of just following what I thought was the right thing to do, which was to advance the argument by having a civil debate, and a debate where people could express their opinions properly without being muted. And that's what happened. Eventually I was able to set up my own show, and it was a very public fallout, unfortunately, but these things happen. And that wasn't the only thing that happened behind the scenes. There was also what happened with the Stephen P. gyroscope behind the scenes on FE Core. That was something that that should have been made public. Wasn't. There was a lot of behind the scenes stuff that went on there that was very nasty because it didn't show what
rocket launchers
Bob and
so
other
powerful.
people expected it to show. And people were kicked out over that, and I was watching that in real time, and I'm thinking, well, why are you so scared of this information getting out?
6 rockets for light armor.
What's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? And that was the first downfall, I think, around about 18 months ago when that
Maybe
first,
I'll get it moving as
that
well
first
and
came
just
out
see
because
what happens when they keep
the
on
evidence
overriding
didn't
the
point to
forward
where it,
thrusters.
where Bob
See what's
expected
that
it to
like
point,
aiming.
and other people paid the price for that, and I didn't like that either. I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, and I got.
Well, hold on, let me just clarify something, because Citizen 9's put hashtag thanks Bob, which is fine, but it wasn't to do with
So this
the
semi-auto
ring laser
rifle is
gyroscope.
utterly
That's not what I'm
useless.
talking about. I'm not
It's
talking
built
about
for
the ring
headshots,
laser.
so like a
I'm
sniper
talking about
bullet's
a different
probably never
gyroscope,
gonna get
something that somebody built and spent an incredible amount of money on building it themselves, and created probably the most accurate gyroscope that anyone's built in a very long time. Highly sophisticated, and it didn't do what Bob wanted it to do. In fact, it behaved just as the globe you would expect it to happen on a globe, and that information was suppressed and kept out. I mean, there was threats of court proceedings and all sorts to keep this information out. So, being part of FE Core, I was party to some of those conversations and hearing what was going on and seeing what was going on and seeing the information.
Elite rifle they were just showing off.
Unfortunately, I mean, that was the start of my first moment of thinking, there's bigger agendas seems to be going on here, bigger people at play that are trying to suppress this information. And that was the first step into the, going back to maybe to the global, you could say, going to the dark side.
So, Ranty, I just have two things to address. The first thing was your response to my question, what causes the apparent junction of the sky and ground. I just wanted to clarify. Your response was, I don't need to understand where this is going. I don't need to do the dance. I don't need to answer it now because I know in an image, if the Earth was flat, people would be drowning below. I wrote the book on optics for flat earthers. Would you consider that to be concise?
Not that I wrote the book, and that's very definitive. But I put a lot of research in it. I would more likely say that that a lot of the stuff that's talked about in flat Earth optics now is based upon work that I may have done in the past and talked about and first brought to the table. But as you can say, just definitively say that it's all down on me and that I'm that's kind of putting me in a box and making me out to be a prick, which I don't want to be. I just want to say that I did a lot of work for flat Earth in understanding optics.
Did you ever do any sorry, anyway, my second question here then, if you don't mind, that's fine.
But what I'm saying, no, let me just clarify. I want to finish that point.
Sorry, my bad.
I know you do videos, and I know you're going to try and misrepresent me in some way because you can't comprehend the image.
No, this is for a book, Ranty, and it's not about whether I can it's whether not whether I can comprehend the image.
I apologize.
Yeah, so it's the image is shot by a camera, so I definitely don't see any of your camera optics in your calculations. Besides the point, my second question, if a 6-foot observer is located on top of the ball, does that mean every object goes down the perimeter or past the boundary or the horizon of your sphere 3 miles away? Do you believe that?
I suppose as a globe earther you would have to. In all directions, wouldn't it? It would have to be. But I would. I'm not one of these that's going to think of the ins and outs of or the technicalities of this. I just need to see an image that shows me drop locally to me. That's all I've been interested in.
Do you want to go about now?
And if this could be repeated, then it has been by Bev
17
and
seconds
other people, let's say down the line, that show the same thing, the same markings on the mountain in relation to Blackpool Tower with those distances we know, then there can only be one conclusion.
Well, here's another
There's
30 minutes
no
of
water
footage.
to create this effect. It's just landmass to landmass to landmass, 3 known places. Observational height, distance to objects in the foreground, distance to the mountains in the background. That's all I need. That proves to me that there's drop there, and I don't need anything.
I got it moving.
So just to clarify, you said I suppose as a globe earther, I'd have to, wouldn't I? That was your response.
I would have to accept that. Yeah.
Copy that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bev.
Hashtag thanks, babe.
Gotta say, you're totally blowing my mind right now.
You twat.
How do we know the Earth is not flat?
We don't. It's flat. Understanding of the world in which you live, then of course the world looks flat. The world looks flat. The world looks flat. Neil,
bitch, you twat.
I gotta say, you're totally blowing my mind right now. That's what I do. 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 What I do.
But I don't have much patience for anyone who denies that this challenge is real. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. Flat Earth Society.
My friends, these people are so out of touch with science. You don't need to be a scientist to know that the Earth is round.
They must have been founding members of the Flat Earth Society. They would not have believed that the world was round.
Like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash.